Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Automate Model Generation. My name is Carolina Hägg, and I will be the sidekick of today, and hosting today will be Nils Persson.
My name is Nils Persson. I've been with PDS Vision for about 11 years in different technical positions. The last 5 I spent in customer success, and from the start of this year, I've been working completely with our own development of applications as a product manager of those. And one of these are being myPDS Configurator. And this is an old-time product that has been with us for quite some time. And today we will also look at especially how this can be used in combination with Windchill and its option and variance module, which is a new capability that we added to this product. But I thought I'd start just to spend a little bit of time on some general updates in regards to our application portfolio. Perhaps you've seen over the last years that PDS Vision has made some acquisitions the recent years. And with that, our portfolio of apps are increasing as well. We find this very exciting, of course, as these companies have developed them also on the same basis as we have to be able to respond to our customers' requests in an efficient and swift way when the PTC portfolio cannot, increasing the value of your CAD and PLM investments. Some of these applications, which you only in the slides see a handful of, are quite similar to the ones that we have offered previously, and there are some of these that are completely new to us. There is an ongoing effort to join the work globally around this, but it will take some time. As a starting point, we now have this common name, myPDS, and over time, we aim that this will improve the value of your investment also in these applications, with a bigger organization supporting, maintaining, and continuing to develop these applications. More information in regards to the various applications and the progress and outcome of this integration work that we are now ongoing will follow in various platforms. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either me or to your sales representatives. However, for the rest of the time today, we will focus on this one application in the middle. It was formerly called Pro Excel. It's also been known as Creo Configurator, PDS Vision Configurator, and now myPDS Configurator. I think PTC is still at the top of the game in terms of name changes to products, especially Creo Parametric, but we are definitely closing in on that. Short agenda for this webinar today. I thought I'd give you just an introduction to myPDS Configurator. Not everybody might know about this product from before. Then we will, of course, the focus of today is the integration towards Windchill and option and variance. So we will focus on that. Also with a short demonstration on how this is working in a live system. And then at the end, of course, the value outcome of this type of workflow. And then we'll finish off with some questions and answers. So to stay competitive today in many industries, the product offering now needs to be configurable to meet a wide variety of customer demands. And we see an increasing effort among companies to be able to offer configurable products. Maintaining a large amount of product variants, however, is quite a complex and time-consuming task. It also requires more departments than perhaps R&D to also have a basic understanding of form, fit, and function of the product and be able to utilize and generate variant-specific CAD content, including models and drawings, both for internal and for external parties. myPDS Configurator is one of the products that we can offer in terms of configurable products. And it harnesses the powerful assembly features within Creo Parametric while simplifying the interaction with them. So with no need for modeling or programming skills, it's easier than ever to configure a variant and generate specific 2D and 3D content from it. And the business value of this is, apart from offering being able to offer a modular portfolio that is maintainable also when your sales scales on these products, the outcome is, of course, increased efficiency while working in Creo Parametric, where you can respond quicker to customer requests and frees up valuable R&D time to spend on more challenging activities. So in essence, the myPDS configurator, it can utilize almost all of the features within Creo Parametric. And models can be built very robust using skeletons, requiring no reference between modules indirectly. Can also utilize reps, zones, interfaces, style, combined states, flexibility, bulk items, and much more to that. To work with it is an easy, intuitive conditional inputs that can be controlled for placement of components, for include and exclude of different components. We can edit parameters, we can define what type of exports we want to do from Creo. And this could be anything from the assembly model to drawings to Creo view formats or any neutral file formats that is available to export from Creo Parametric. The out-of-the-box interaction is based on Excel today because it's easy to get started with for anyone. Many of the users are familiar with the product and have it at the companies already have Office licenses, so you can get started directly. Excel also supports a lot of more advanced feature like Visual Basic macros and integration with external data storages that can enhance the usage with small development efforts. However, all of the configuration logic, even though we can use Excel, it's communicated using XML. So this makes it possible also to integrate its product with other solutions that can act as a UI towards it. Could be a CPQ solution. It could be a custom web platform that is built. And it could be Windchill and option and variants or any other PLM system for that matter. So this product has mainly been aimed to customers that do not use PLM, where Excel or an enterprise system can act as the UI for it, and where you keep track of the different variants and modules and the rule sets to combine it. We, of course, commonly position Windchill PLM and option and variants towards this. And this breakthrough that we have now with the product is to interact also with it. That is what we're going to show through this presentation. So just to give you an idea also for the ones that are new to Windchill option and variants, commonly this is a module in Windchill to start with, and typically you build an overpopulated BOM within Windchill that holds all of the modules that are possible to pick within a product. We commonly call this 150% BOM. It can, of course, be 1,000% BOM. It's not specific to that. But it will hold all of the possible modules that can be added to a product or picked in between. Then apart from this, there are rule sets that keep track of what combinations that can be used. And when a user inputs the specific configuration for a customer, or when you're going to generate a variant of it, a variant BOM and a variant specification will be created. And this only holds the specific modules that were picked for that variant. So option and variants can keep track of all the different, both the rule sets, but also the modules and the logic to it. And Just as any other object within Windchill, it's version controlled and can be iterated. For many of these levels, you typically have CAD files as well, and these can be will then be picked for this variant end product. If there is a simple product, it might be able to have also an overpopulated CAD file at the top. But for a very complex one, it can be hard to hold all of that information within a CAD model. It won't simply be able to open it, perhaps if it's thousands of different modules in it, or at least hundreds. So in between, myPDS Configurator can now act and create CAD model and CAD content based on the variant specification that comes out of option and variants. So we can read the bill of material. We can read additional attributes that are put on this end item. And based on that, we can generate CAD content from it. So it could be that we assemble that end item or variant specific CAD model. In the end, it could be the variant specific drawing towards this, and any neutral files or PVZ Creo view files that are needed. And I think that a big feature for this is to also be able to handle, for instance, attributes that could define a specific length or width of a product that can be taken into account as we create this CAD model. So we can generate a variant-specific CAD model that has certain dimensions to it, almost bringing this into from an assembly to order to a more of a configure to order type of product. So for a very simple workflow and overview of this, a user would typically be inputting the choices that they make to option and variants. And from this, Windchill is generating a variant BOM that will be saved into the Windchill database, as well as a variant specification of what the user actually inputted. That variant specification could be an object that you communicate towards your end customer. Perhaps there are changes being made to the options that are set. And you can also, as I mentioned, possibly define attributes on the variant BOM that can be used later. For instance, dimensions or quantities for certain components or similar to that. Then that variant BOM, either ad hoc or we could programmatically use the workflows to generate an action towards myPDS Configurator to read that variant BOM and to generate the content based of it. So this could be CAD models and drawings that are drawn back to the Windchill database, and that is saved towards that variant BOM generated before. And this could then be picked up by the end user, either directly from Windchill, or you could utilize myPDS search or any other application that you might have to draw drawings or other information from Windchill. But of course, this could also mean that we can put files back into the Windchill database. We could also send files to other systems. It could be Creo view files towards some sort of web platform. We have a customer that utilizes Vuforia, and where we generate Creo view files towards that server that is hosting that solution. Or it could be towards significant or other web-based applications where you want to present information in. So this is a very simple workflow of how these two products would interact typically. And I thought I'd leave the slides just for a while, and we'll see if our demo environment is with us. And let's see, give you a little hint of what this looks like. I hope that it's not too small. Otherwise, please reach out in the chat and type to perhaps Carolina. You can give me a heads up if you can't see this. So what we're looking at now is this overpopulated module. And in this case, it is a 3D printer. So basically, if we're looking at its structure in Windchill, we're going to see all of the very different modules that can be picked for this 3D printer. In this case, it's quite simple, but we got a few different of these frames. And you can also see the attribute here, assigned usage expression, that tells us what this module is called, basically, in option and variance. So either standard or the precision for the frame, and we got some different types of displays in here. We got the spool holders on the back. There are some different options to this that are available. So this is our overpopulated BOM for the 3D printer. And typically, if you use option and variance, you can then configure it from this wizard on the actions menu. So if I click on configure, it will open up the wizard. And under the options filter, we will see the different choices that we can make on these levels. And if we expand it, we'll see the different types of displays. And for this, we are going to have a pick on the premium display. We can do a pick on the frame. We can set it to standard. We'll have the power supply as a premium. We will have dual printing heads, and the y-axis could be of a standard type. So as I defined all of my options in here, I can continue in the wizard with an option to set parameters to this. Also in the preview section here in the third step, which is quite a great functionality in option and variance, is that if I would have made a configuration previously with the same type of options, it would check towards the system and see if we have anything matching this from before. So we avoid making duplications of orders that we've already made. In this case, it doesn't seem like it, so we can create a new one. But if there was a duplicate, we could go ahead and use the already created one, since there are no differences to it. In the end, I need to give this a name, and I'm going to call it Customer X in this case, and we can continue to finalize this. And we will land on the variant specification object that was just created based on my choices. So as you can see here, we have visibility over the different choices that we were making. And this object, as we spoke about earlier, it's version controlled and can hold different sets of attributes. So this is an object that you can, as you communicate with customers, could update with the choices, for instance, and that will reflect also on, in this case, the deliverable, which is a bill of material of these objects. So if I navigate to that one, we have now created a variant BOM within Windchill with the specific options that were made earlier. So this is basically the overpopulated BOM, but we removed the options that we didn't want to include in this. And so this is now one unique bill of material with my options in it, basically. And if we click on show, we're going to see that we have CAD assemblies on most on these module levels, but not on the actual end item in here. So what we can do to generate this, I mean, for a small assembly like this, it could have been possible that we created that 3D model as well as an overpopulated bill of material, holding all of the different modules to it. It would then be driven by this as well, and it could be hiding them. But in this case, we need to build this on the fly. And this is where the PDS configurator can jump in. So if I'm standing here on my variant specific model and I go to the actions menu, click on PDS Vision Configurator, we are now going to land on a login page. And this is basically like a queue set for generation of works from this. And what's happening now is that we're reading this information from the bill of material, and we're also downloading all of the modules, and the worker side of the Windchill installation, the Creo parametric worker, is now going to build up this 3D printer based on the different options that we were making in this. Not super demo friendly because it takes another minute or so. So meanwhile, I thought I could just talk to you about, this is quite a simple example of this, where we include, exclude different options. And I'm sure that we could get pretty close with option and variants towards this, especially with the dynamic positioning functionality that has been newly introduced towards it. But what perhaps differentiate the usage of this product, and that we've seen among other customers that have taken an interest in this, is that we can define various attributes on this level as well that could affect the generation of this model. So it could be the width, for instance, of certain components. Let's say you're instead of a 3D printer, we're making doors. It could be the width and height of that door that is driven towards the generation of the CAD model, and we could have a specific width also set on it. Or it could be the inclusion of a quantity of that would actually affect the width, for instance. This could also be handled using this product in them. So we could have a very not only a product that is based on exclude and include options, but also on dynamic dimensions, for instance, that could be driven towards the CAD. Let's see if we have a successful message in here. We can see that it's now done and the end time for it. So if we go back, we can look at the related objects now for this variant specific model. We can now see that we have an assembly connected to it as an owner link. In this case, it's only the assembly. It could, of course, also be a variant-specific drawing that we would generate in this case, and then it would also appear here as well. If I go back to our structure and I click on CAD, let's see if we can get at least on this level. I might need to reload the structure to make that work. And this is now appearing on this level as well. So this is a way that we can build up that assembly based on variance inputs. And I thought I would just end this by showing you quickly from Creo. I see that it's very small in here. But let's see if we can quickly pick this up. This doesn't want to work with me, really. Let's go from the... This looks... just gonna switch the screen when I pick this up. Sorry about that. So basically, I'm just gonna search for the model and I'm gonna add it to my workspace so that we can open it up in Creo. So you can just see what this looks like. And so here we loaded the module from the, let's see if the workspace one of the looks quite funky on this screen, but anywho, I added it to my workspace. We've opened it up in Creo, and this is the assembly at the end. So all of the positions are here correctly placed. We can see that the model now holds various options, premium display that I picked, for instance, and the various options that we had taken to this. And in the end, this was also automatically uploaded towards the variant-specific bill of material and connected to that. But as mentioned several times now, it could be the assembly, but of course you can output other types of formats. It could be a variant-specific drawing. We can also use attributes from Windchill to drive different dimensions to this. Widths or height, for instance, of this bed could be an option to it. Or anything that sort of affect the geometry based on those inputs. And I think that is one of the strong differences, or what this product sort of adds to option and variance as well. So I'm going to jump back, but now you have an idea of how we can interact in between these two products and some of the capabilities that it's capable of. So in essence, just to underline what myPDS Configurator adds to this is that we do not necessarily need to use an overloaded BOM also on the CAD side. Instead, we only add in the side modules and parts to sort of a template model. So it becomes a very lightweight operation, and also quite a simple template model to it. We can position the component by constraints and coordinate system, which gives us a very robust positioning. Modules can be edited after the model generation, and the position change update automatically when the model is regenerated as well. As you saw, we can create new variant parts and assign also parameter values to them. And this moves us sort of closer to configure to order designs, something that has been really hard for us to address in the past. We can also create assembly drawings. I'm sorry, I was supposed to show you also this in this presentation, but that is, of course, fully possible as well. And this is also for configure to order parts, so it could be with specific dimensioning towards it. And CAD model and drawing generation can be fully run on the server side. So variants and deliverables can be generated straight from Windchill using Creo parametric. You wouldn't have to open it up on the client side or on a client computer to generate it. And this only requires the Creo parametric license that the CAD worker is using, basically. Perhaps quickly on ATO and CTO, just the assemble to order, where we have different components, and we can assemble those into the specific order. It's more of an include, exclude, and how option and variance very much work. And in terms of configure to order, we can also set perhaps specific dimensions on this trailer, what the length of it would be, or and how it affects other geometry to it. And this is where we are starting to move towards also with this product and the new capabilities that are given here. So we would say that the great benefits here is, of course, time save in terms of model and drawing generation, less development efforts if you need to create quotations, for instance, not the final product, but for a quotation, you might need a bill of material, you might need certain drawings, you might need a 3D model to make visualizations or technical specifications on. And if you do not get the deal at the end of the day, all of that work might be of no use unless we sell the exact same specification again. So to be able to automate this process and to be able to generate it quickly, that could save a great deal of working hours that you can spend on R&D instead, perhaps. And you can also create these variants and push them to ERP when it's actually needed. So it's less products to handle in a system like ERP, and less duplicates as well, to utilize something like option and variants, where it sort of scans the system for any duplicates in this. And in the end, more standardized product structures also makes both manufacturing and maintenance easier in the end. And in the discussion that we have with customers, we also see that most times we discuss with R&D in terms of PLM and CAD, but there are so many other departments that could benefit from real 3D from the CAD. Could be on the sales side, that we could generate quotations or information for the quotation based on this. Could be in simulation, where you need the CAD model to draw simulation on top of it. Technical documentation for technical illustrations and similar. Could be for rendering photorealistic content based on the CAD model, and so much more. Also for digital twin part, creating Vuforia concepts and AR based on these as well. So when do we think that you can consider managing configurable products? And when one of the things is when the number of possible configurations is, of course, difficult to manage when it becomes too big. And as the number increase, you would need some sort of enterprise system or other system to help you keep track of this information. Of course, we commonly position PLM and option and variants, but some customers store this in ERP or CPQ solutions or other database systems. Also, when the internal knowledge of what is possible to combine might be limited to a few key individuals. So not only should it be more efficient to get aid from a system to keep track of the possible configurations, but also there is an important part in it to secure the IP knowledge regarding that product for the future. From what we see, it's not uncommon that these few key individuals have this knowledge, and by transferring it towards an enterprise system, we can help secure that IP also in the future. Also, when you spend a lot of time validating these configurations, it is a big time thief, and it can also, of course, generate some quality concerns in the end if the wrong combinations are put to market. When there is a demand to generate custom products faster, and as mentioned earlier, this can also, of course, be in earlier stages of the sales process, where we need to generate structure models for quotation, for example, and the time spent on that generation might be useless unless there is a sale in the end. So with that, that was apparently my last slide. Wanted to thank you for taking this time. I hope you saw from this short presentation some of the possibilities that we can now make, how we're sort of expanding our offering towards configurable products, and how we can combine also, for instance, option and variants together with myPDS Configurator to make up sort of an automated workflow to generate these, in this case, the assembly model, but which could be basically anything that could be generated from Creo could be driven from that. And also with this fact that we can handle now dynamic dimensions also in a way that we haven't been able to do previously. So with that, I'm going to leave it back to you, Carolina, and see if there are some, I've heard some noises at least from the chat, but I can't see it, so.
Oh yes, we have some questions here. And we will start with a question here. Do you need a Windchill to access the configurator, or could you generate and download, for example, drawings, PDFs, and step from another interface?
So I don't know if I understand the question fully, but so the configurator, it will use the Creo models to define it, but the steps and PDFs and so on, yeah, it can of course open them, but it wouldn't be able to sort of generate anything from that. I don't know if I'm interpreting that question correctly, but otherwise, please rephrase in the chat. And if you mean it by now we were uploading that assembly towards Windchill, we could of course generate these files and we could output them towards another system. For instance, if this is something like Significant or some sort of aftermarket platform or other solution on the web, for instance, that could be a possibility.
Great. And another question here is, can you use different interfaces to move parts around?
Not at this point. If you mean no, there is no UI towards Creo in this case, or a custom UI to move components in that sense. And so you would have to sort of have the logic, of course, stored in this case in option and variance, what components fit with each other, and depending on the various options that you do have, and especially if you have dynamic measures, you would have to sort of build your CAD model accordingly so it can accept these different inputs. But apart from that, there is no specific UI or a custom UI towards it.
And let me see here. There is also a question, is this in production at any of your customers at the moment?
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, we couldn't mention them already here, where I hope that we can get out sort of a customer story through the year. And that could even more perhaps showcase the values that they see using this combination. But they are using the exact sort of same setup that we see here, that it's option and variance and myPDS configurator in combination. And they typically use this dimensioning, for instance. They have a where they, yeah, I'll put out a hopefully a customer case around this that could describe it. But they're typically using this dynamic dimensioning. They are exporting files both to Windchill and to other platforms, actually using Vuforia as well to use create an AR experience of that variant that was generated. So it's quite a unique case for us, and it's a great showcase of this type of workflow. So we really hope that we can get that customer case out, but there are customers using it. So.
And let me see, we'll have a last question here.
Sure.
My assumption is that this only works for Creo parametric data.
That is correct, at the moment at least. I guess we can also draw benefit from where Creo supports third-party CAD like SolidWorks components to be included, or Inventor, or but it is mainly aimed towards the motor, so to speak, will be Creo parametric and will of course work the best with its own data.
Okay, we have more questions, but we are running out of time. So we will send you the answers to those questions and we will reach out to you. I want to thank you, Niels, for a fantastic presentation.
Thank you guys, and you, Carolina, as well.
Yeah. And thank you. And hopefully we will see you guys on the next webinar. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.